All right, man, I'm in my brother's garage here, and so we got the front end off of a Z06, right? And you probably are aware that there's a plastic spat that comes out about this far to try to block off, so that the air doesn't hit the front tire, because otherwise it's a very unaerodynamic situation. So if your front end, let's do this from the top here, so we're looking straight down. If your front end came out extra wide and came out to about right here, then what would happen is the gap between here and here would be an exhaust vent, and it would be vertical, and it would run from, I gotta look at it here on the video. It would start out just flush with the point up here, and then it would go wide. It'd come out wide, and it'd come down here like this, and then of course underneath you'd have to have it come across flat and attach, underneath the bottom of the car there. But anyhow, so you'd have like a long, thin exhaust vent right here, okay? And if you had that, you could absolutely put that to work, because, so over here we got a cooler, all right? And what happens is this cooler hangs from this point here to this point over here. Again, this is the ugly bracket, but anyhow, that cooler hangs right there, right? And so, and this hole is where I told you that it got worn out from driving it around without the front end on the car, because I didn't have it zip tied over here. If you ever take the front end off and drive around, make sure you zip tie it to the frame. Otherwise, it's going to get into the tire and melt the damn thing. But anyway, well, I'll put a new one of those on eventually. But same thing on this side. So you can see I don't have the wheels turned. The wheels are straight. So same thing on this side. So I mean, if you wanted it to match up with the stock fender, what you'd have to do is you'd have to have it, come out very aggressive right there and then come down. And then what you could do is you could actually use the stock spat and just cut the stock spat and have it blend into this new wide front end. Now, if you're going to make the front end wider, and then you're going to put that canard on around on the way up, I think is what you were talking about, then that would work as well. So, but the key is that vent cannot be in line with this tire, because if that vent is in line with this tire, believe it or not, everything in line with this tire is a high pressure zone, which means air is actually going to come backwards through there, believe it or not. So it's got to be slightly past the tire, but you don't want to go crazy with it. And then, if a guy is all show and, doesn't care about racing, then he can go ahead and put on the wider tires out there and, so be it. But for the race guys, you want to make it wide enough to where the race guys, when they run whatever tires they're going to run, and I can talk to the racers and figure out if they'd rather run a wider front tire. I think some run a slightly wider front tire. But anyhow, you get the idea, I think. So you just have it come out here and be the same shape, from the side here. Same shape, it comes down, curves around, nothing new there. But you just have that where the tips of my fingers are out here, this is vent. And that vent comes all the way down to here, and that's an exhaust vent. So the front end would be stock, it'd be nice and smooth, come around, and then on the back side of that is where that vent would be, and it'd be an exhaust vent. And that would absolutely be put to work, because as you can see here, this is all sealed. Everything that's on the bottom half of this is kept underneath. There's your air box. The thing that your buddy wants to do, where he wants to put the vent up in there, that's just going to create a vacuum, a very severe vacuum, and that's going to prevent your air box from inhaling. You don't want that. You want the opposite. So anyhow, yeah, I think you get the idea. So what would happen is the hot air would come through the cooler, and then of course all the air would then get sucked over this way immediately after it goes through the cooler, and it gets sucked out the car. So, just something to think about.